This is our follow-up to the free picks we sent out last night. We essentially sent out two, SQNM, and the other one was SPPI. We'll do these one at a time. SQNM we liked. If it broke yesterday's high, 468 would have been the trigger, and a secondary catalyst of 472, a price that it hasn't seen since before the gap down back there a long time ago. So we knew it had a chance to break out. Let me go to intraday candles here. These are 3-minute candles. What we look for on something that was very near a breakout price, okay? Oftentimes what we look for is an early narrow range, okay? What I mean by that is between its low and the high of the first few minutes of trading. And the reason we like a narrow range is then we can buy the break of the early high, and our worst case stop is below the early low, and since the range is narrow, it offers us a tight stop. Now, in our live chat room, when we trade stuff like this, normally I'll type in alerts with the trigger and stop price. That'll pop up as an alert in the chat room. But on early trades in the first 15 minutes or so, things happen so fast that I just use the microphone, okay? So told the room I was going to take SQNM if it broke its early high. I did get filled as it came up right here at 458. Again, my initial stop, and it was just a mental stop, was 449. So less than a dime risk. We did get the subsequent break of yesterday's high. Remember, our actual trigger was 468, which was all the way up here. But because it put in that narrow range with a high of 458, I went ahead and took it. The trigger was actually 459. I got filled at 458. And the reason we do that is because the break of the early high had a good chance of getting us to our 468 trigger, okay? So then it hit 468 and actually went through that 472 also. But look at the S&P line. Shortly after that, the market just dove. As you know, if you traded it all today, the Dow was down 200 points before we knew it. So I took 458, just as I called out in chat, and ended up selling at 472 as it started to come down and as the market got weak too. Ended up selling at 472 here and sold most of it there and sold the rest at a break-even stop. So that's how I handled SQNM. And it was a nice early trade, but again, as we teach our members, anytime you take an early trade based on 3 or 5 minute candles, it's just a quick trade. Now, if this would have kept going up, right, and the market would have been strong, I might have scaled out more, but I always scalp some to pay myself and get to a break-even stop on early trades. So it didn't necessarily have to be a scalp on the rest of it. Had it kept going or based for a while, I might have inched my stop up on the last quarter and given it a chance to really continue the breakout there. But because the market was so weak, it came down and got me on the last quarter, for a break-even stop. But did get a nice chunk out of this, 458 to 472 early, and that's how we traded it. Let's go to the daily and show you SPPI now. As we always say when we send out a free pick, we want to follow up and show you how we handled it. So SPPI, there's the daily. Remember, we had a couple catalysts here, 530, and then a secondary catalyst of 533, and this could have broke out. Again, let's go to three-minute candles. Had the same deal as SQNM, okay? Had a nice early narrow range, 520 to 524. So I told the room I was going to play this as a gap play as well with a 525 trigger. Worst case stop, 519. That's only 6 cents a share, okay? Grabbed this at 525. Because I was dealing with SQNM at the same time, this did get to 531, but I didn't have a chance to scalp out any. And before you know it, the market reversed. And I sold it at 525 again. Anytime I get a pop, even if I don't get a chance to take something off because I was trading something else, anytime I get a pop and it comes back to my entry, I just get out. There's no reason to sit there and hope it's going to turn after it takes out the low of the day. So that said, that was a flat trade. SQNM was a decent early trade. But the chart still looks okay. Anywhere up. I would keep this on watch for a break of 532 one of these days. It could get going. And SQNM really too. You never know. The shorts might be a little nervous now that this thing did pierce that 472 early area. But overall the market was pretty weak today. We did put out a few other ideas. A day like today is where I emphasize patience. People feel like they got to be in a trade all the time. I'm a big fan of just being patient. Like when the market started to sell off, okay, at some point it's sold off far enough that I don't want to chase it short, but at the same time I don't want to fight it, so I just sit on my hands and say let's just be patient and wait for a low risk setup. So we did get some in the afternoon, but overall it was kind of a sit on my hands afternoon. PCBC was one I grabbed and mentioned over the mic at 128. And again, we don't only deal with low price stocks, but these happen to be the ones that we were watching today. 128, and it did get to 140. Nice little percentage gain. I actually sold some at 140, or maybe 139. I'm not positive. And actually holding a few shares of this one. It's had a lot of recent pops here, and it looks like it could try to go higher here. So did get a little scalp on that in the afternoon. Rambus, nice gap up today. A suggestion I made over the mic, but I didn't take myself because this was kind of a narrow range, was a break of this 15-minute candle here at 23.53. The stop would have had to go down here 23.09. That's too much of a risk for me. I mean, you could have put an arbitrary stop tighter, but anyway, Rambus did end up from 23.53. I don't know how many people took it all the way to 24.69, but I didn't have a tight enough stop to take that myself, so I let that one alone. Same deal with MED. I mentioned here on what we call a secondary 30s today. Right, 2030 right here, and it did go to 2073 after that. But otherwise, it really kind of a boring day, because if I don't have a low risk setup, I won't call anything for the room. So again, the market got away from me to the downside, so at some point I was just trying to click around looking for low risk setup. So really an uneventful day, but I did have some nice small trades. Can talk about a couple real quick here that are interesting. MED we have on Bounce Watch. Okay, so any kind of break of its early range, any one of these days coming up, MED might get a little short covering there. So we're watching that one because it's just been slapped pretty good here on the daily chart. TNDM, that's another one. I mean, this is already an ugly sell-off and then possible capitulation today, so we'll be watching that one tomorrow. So these are some ideas for tomorrow, and then I'm going to go through charts tonight and try to find some decent long setups on strong stocks as well. So I'm going to wrap this up, and we will try to send out another free pick next week. Have a great night.